CEO, I'm Joshua Nelson. I'm here on a beautiful and a little bit chilly fall morning at the Echota Stomp Grounds in northeastern Oklahoma, around Park Hill, just outside of Tahlequah. And I'm lucky, exceptionally lucky this morning, to get a chance to visit with David Comingdeer. David is a member and one of the leaders here at Echota Ground, and he's going to tell us a little bit about some of the traditions that are carried on here, traditions that Cherokee people have been holding for a very, very long time. And he's going to tell us a little bit about how they do things, about some of the history and some of the contemporary conditions facing traditional practitioners of stomp grounds here in northeastern Oklahoma. David, morning.
Good morning.
We hear a lot about traditions that people are always, it seems like people are always talking about us clinging to traditions and about all the challenges that face us. And I know that there are a lot of challenges, but at the same time, these traditions have been present and with us for a very long time. And so I'm hopeful that you can tell us a little bit about how it is that Cherokee folks like yourself around here have managed to keep things like the grounds going for so long.
By knowing our history and our family history and our cultural history and being well acquainted with the conditions in which our people were forced here and what our ancestors did to save what they could for us and protect what they could for us, having that knowledge and knowing what our older ones have done, it gives us a sense of duty to continue on. And that's primarily the most important thing for us today, is to talk about and remember and pass on to our children is our history, our heritage, not just history from that anyone could read, pick up a manual at the bookstore or some publication of Cherokee history, but the deep history from our communities, our families, and the individual stories of overcoming difficulties and adversities, the great warrior society that we're descended from, and of course the ceremonial system that we follow, what we call ceremonial ground, stomp ground. It's a remnant of the old tribal town. It gives us a strong drive as individual warriors and fathers today to continue on and to pass along everything to its fullest extent.
I'm interested to hear you talk about duty. I hadn't thought about it in that kind of way, but the way that you're describing it, I think, is really resonant. That there's an obligation incumbent upon us to find out about things and to keep them going. I say that I'm not a member here, of course, and don't know all that I would like to. But in talking about family histories, we were talking about that before we started rolling, about different stories, different histories, the deep history that you're talking about that we haven't heard before, histories of families and folks. Could you tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you do, and especially how it is that you came to be involved in the grounds?
Well, I worked for the Cherokee Nation. I've going on 23 years of service to my tribe as a continuing service there. I've been a federal wildland firefighter and worked full-time for the Cherokee Nation as a wildland firefighter. I'm the only employee of the tribe that is a full-time firefighter, wildland firefighter. And so that's my profession, is outside of the Echota ground. It's through my bloodline. We're descendant from the same people that took care of this ground before Oklahoma, before we were here. And most of your ceremonial ground people are that way. It defines us as who we are, not just through our language and our medicine and our music, our songs, traditional music. But it's our genetics, it's our blood. It's, in Cherokee we call it here, our ancestors, we call them Dige Giga Yulage, and that literally means our old blood. When we speak of our people before us, that's how we term in our language, our old blood. The fire that we keep here, that we care for and protect here, that we hold our dances at and our meetings, our blood line has kept that fire as far back as we know. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I meant earlier when I said knowing our history is what gives us that sense to continue on.
That's interesting. We refer to the grounds as the grounds, but when we say that, we don't mean this one specific place. You talked about these grounds as having come from a long way back, from back in the old country. It's my understanding that there are some specific sorts of traditions that allow that kind of thing to happen. So the grounds that you're talking about, Echota grounds, have been a couple places. How does that work?
Most of the grounds that are still here today active, all of them have been moved by the people that are from that town, from that fire. First and foremost, they all had to move here to this side of the Mississippi River.
Yeah, right.
Because none of us came from here. But once we reestablished our square grounds here and reset our fires here in our new home and started using those new sites and congregating and assembling at those new square grounds, that's been 170 years or so, mm-hmm. You know, a roundabout number since those fires have been reestablished here, the oldest ones. Not all of them have made it up to today. Maybe less than a fourth, probably much less than that, have survived to now. Mm-hmm. Some of them joined others, and now they're one ground, which was maybe two or three. Maybe they now have assembled into one or something, or maybe they've what we call the fire went out altogether. Nevertheless, you know, we are what's left, and we try to hang on to what we have, and we protect it and defend it, and take our jobs very seriously. And we also try to support the other communities, the other fires, the other grounds. And some grounds are very close with each other through their history, and they may even be blood related to each other, even though they belong to one fire or another fire, depending on their mama or their daddy or their grandparents or something. Mm-hmm. Many of our people have ties to other ceremonial grounds, other tribal towns, other fires that may or may not still be burning. The people that I know, the men and women, the families that I know that keep their fire going are some of the most fantastic people. It has been such a good life for me to take care of a ground of my own that it comes through my family, and a great responsibility. And it's not always easy. It's probably a double-edged sword in a way. It's the most rewarding part of my life, and yet it's also one of the most challenging parts of my life. And I think that most guys like me that have responsibilities, they would probably say the same thing.